it's lovely to see you. And firstly, very happy St. Patrick's Day. Ginger, have you been celebrating?
Not much. We're baking a ham and, your traditional cabbage and potatoes, that kind of thing, for good
Fantastic.
luck.
I love it. I love it. I know it's all been a bit subdued this year, but I guess
Yeah.
we'll make up for it. But oh, brilliant, brilliant. Well, it's lovely to see you all, and thank you so much for joining us for our little tour around Yorkshire and the fabulous locations of all creatures great and small. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. It was funny actually. I hadn't seen the new series. But I remember absolutely loving the original, and so it was lovely to go back to it and and watch it. Here we go. Excuse me, and watch it again. Oh, and before we kick off, it is absolutely amazing to me, but we have been getting together every week for tea and training for nearly a year. When we started doing this back in April last year, and obviously COVID was all very new to us all, and none of us knew that this we would still be in this situation a year later. And I thought we'd probably be doing it for 3 months or so, but here we are a year later. And the fabulous thing is that when we have discussions about what subjects to cover and so on, all of your ideas combined with all of our ideas. I mean, I think we could carry this on for another 10 years and we wouldn't run out of good subject matter, which is glorious, isn't it? It's absolutely wonderful. And I'll certainly never tire of talking about it and sharing it with you. So that's great. So to mark this auspicious occasion, please put in your diaries Wednesday, the 14th of April. And to honour tea and training, we are going to have a tea party. And we will be sending you little snippets and ideas and so on, cucumber sandwiches and all sorts. But please put it in your diary because we would love to see you there. And more importantly, the content that we're going to cover while we're eating our cucumber sandwiches is about where we are in the UK, because things are changing now quite rapidly over here, and we want to make sure that you know what's open, and if you have got clients who are asking you the question about when they can come, whether it's so you can tell them the real story, and we're going to start updating as the news changes. Up to now, we haven't sent out news updates, otherwise known as Humphrey's headlines, because nothing has really changed. But things are changing now, so we're going to be. And I have to thank Lucy for that little name of Humphrey's headlines, because we thought that was a bit of fun. So anyway, we will share more with you. But let's get stuck into all creatures great and small. And as you know, we have our lovely partners spread across the country, and certainly up into Yorkshire. And just as like when you met Sarah, who is our pole dark expert, we have two incredible all creatures great and small experts tucked up in the heart of James Herriot country, which is just wonderful. And I'm particularly fond of one character in this picture, which is the golden retriever, because you may know that Humphreys of Henley was named after Humphrey, who was my beloved golden retriever. And sadly, he's no longer with us, but we have Hector. And if you look at the About Us page on the website, you'll see pictures of both Humphrey and Hector in all their glory. But it's a great picture. So if you haven't watched it, brief synopsis that James Herriot, who in real life was called James Alfred White, known to his friends apparently as Alf, was a country vet, and it was his wife who persuaded him to share all of his stories of looking after the farmers and the pet owners of North Yorkshire. And I mean, you know, the books are a delight to read. He had the most extraordinary turn of phrase and a beautiful way of writing. And what they've done so beautifully, I mean, in the first series, the first uh, um, making TV adaptation of this, and I think they've done the same with this, is to really stay true to the books, and the characters and so on. And apparently the children of James Alfred White have been cooperating and contributing to the making of this current series. So they really have stayed close to it, which is great, and is what makes it probably as good as it is. So there are three vets, Siegfried, Tristan, who are brothers and couldn't be more dissimilar, and the fabulous James Herriot, who turns up very, very fresh-faced and a complete novice about the world of North Yorkshire veterinary practice. He had never worked with big animals like cows and horses and all the rest of it, and there were lots of very funny moments, as I'm sure you've seen, as he learned his trade, but obviously became a much loved a much loved character in real life, as well as on our TV screens. And Yorkshire, just a little revisiting of this beautiful county. Well, it's two counties actually, but because we talked a lot about North Yorkshire a few weeks ago, and is just utterly magical. I don't think Dracula's birthplace does it justice really, but it is true apparently that Bram Stoker got a lot of his ideas, but it doesn't paint the nicest picture in the world, does it? And we'll talk about railway journeys and so on, but my father is an absolute steam train fanatic. He just loves steam trains. He grew up in Yorkshire, and he says a visit to the National Railway Museum is an absolute highlight of the year. And not only if you're an enthusiast, but actually just for historical purposes, it's quite extraordinary. And we'll talk about steam train journeys that your clients can take while they're staying. And you may well know that we celebrate on, slightly odd word, celebrate, but on November the 5th every year, Guy Fawkes and his partners in crime, as it were going to blow up the Houses of Parliament. And fortunately, they were caught at the very last minute, and they found all the gunpowder planted in the cellars of the Houses of Parliament, and so it didn't happen. But he was born and brought up in York. So there you go. So there are a few differences. The makers of the new series have sort of gone out there to find new locations and so on. And Nidderdale, where the current series is filmed, is slightly further south, but is in that beautiful area of outstanding natural beauty, an AONB, as we have over here. So yeah, the countryside, as you've seen, is absolutely stunning. And Ascrig is where the James Herriot house is, which we'll talk a bit more about. But Grassington is. I stayed in a pub once in Grassington. I've tried desperately to remember the name of it, but I was only about 20 at the time, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm afraid it was more than 30 years ago, which is very scary. Anyway, the locals call it Grassington because, to speak good Yorkshire, you have short vowels, not long vowels, but we call it Grassington. And if you're, for any clients who choose to have a little trip to Yorkshire, we will, of course, provide a Yorkshire dictionary, because they do speak their own unique language up there, which is tough for us to understand, let alone any visitors, which is quite funny. So as you can see, lovely little towns and villages and so on, and then the incredible expanse of the patchwork of our beautiful English countryside. It is utterly spectacular. And obviously we will do our best to arrange sunshine on the day, because everything looks better in the sunshine. So when we'll talk about the tours and experiences and so on, but there are obviously so many lovely traditions from the cheese making and the steam trains and so on. So the wonderful thing about the series is that they incorporate a lot of these traditions. So as we plan the route, couple of days, or you could easily do a week in Yorkshire, we will incorporate as much as possible. And these dry stone walls are a real feature of the English countryside. And if you've got a client who's interested, then we can happily get an expert to teach them some dry stone walling to keep them active, because it's a heck of a lot harder than it looks. You'd think you're just laying a load of stone on top of each other, but it's all about picking the right ones and putting them in the right places and so on. But when it's done properly and it ends up looking like that, it's absolutely fabulous. So Scaledale House was used as the vet's practice in the first series, but the fabulous thing is now it's a rather lovely B&B. So for the real fans who want to keep it as authentic as they possibly can, then we will happily book a room in Scaledale House. And they actually changed the name because it was called Scaledale House in the series. I'm trying desperately. It was called Cringley House originally, but they changed it because of the series, and it really is just lovely. And then Broughton Hall, the glorious Mrs. Pumphrey with her funny little Pekingese, isn't it? I think her Pekingese dog lives in Broughton Hall, which is open to the public. We can do some rather lovely private tours. They have the most beautiful shepherd's huts there, and they really focus on sort of well-being and so on. But it's lovely for a visit as well. And really, this is the World of James Herriot building, which is in Thirsk, which is over sort of slightly to the east of North Yorkshire. And these are the highlights that we would sort of build the tour around. Obviously, it really depends on the length of time your clients want to spend there. But visits to the Wheatsheaf pub and all that sort of thing, where the real James Herriot spent his honeymoon. And you really do need a comfortable car and a comfortable pair of shoes when you're doing North Yorkshire, because it's quite big. But you know, these are all the different options that you can share with your clients to make them feel at home in James Herriot country. It's a wonderful mixture of styles and yeah, the sort of not so much of the new, but sort of going back through the time. So some good old experiences. I mentioned earlier about cheese making, and Wensleydale is the good local cheese. So your clients can roll their sleeves up and get stuck into a bit of cheese making. Obviously, cheese making actually takes quite a long time. So they can certainly contribute and have some fun, and then take away something that maybe someone else made a little bit earlier. Oh. Now, if you saw the Humphreys Facebook feed this the beginning of this week, when I was walking on Sunday, we saw a trainee sheepdog learning his trade, which was glorious. And I mean, I could have stood and watched it for hours. and he was a little bit naughty. He got a bit overexcited and wanted to run around, and so of course the sheep all started running around. But his trainer brought him back into back under control. But it's so I mean, it's an idyllic thing to sit and watch. And your clients could choose to watch from the sidelines and watch the experts at work, and my word, they are expert. Or again, they can roll their sleeves up and get stuck in and try their hand at getting the sheep and the sheepdog to do what they should do. It's a wonderful thing. On a smaller basis, they can do duck herding. Ducks are slightly easier to herd than sheep, but I think it's marginal, to be honest with you. Um, Steam trains are just glorious, and your client that I mean, there's there's not much of a better way to see the countryside, to be honest with you. And we would really recommend booking the dining car and sitting there in splendor and enjoying a rather lovely lunch and a glass of something lovely as you look out the window and see the most amazing countryside going past. You really are transported back in time. It's just lovely. And the falconry, I mean, we've talked about falconry experiences with you. It's just amazing. And your clients will meet all sorts of birds. Again, we can tailor it to specific areas of interest, or just introduce them to all the stars of the show. The Ingleboro Caves, not really for anybody who suffers from claustrophobia, but if you don't, they are absolutely well worth a visit. A bit like Wiki Hole down in Somerset, near Cheddar Gorge, that we visited last year, and it's amazing. All those stalagmites and stalactites and so on. Now, the wonderful thing about Yorkshire is there are some absolutely stunning big country house hotels, but some of our favourites, and they've become some of our clients' favourites too, are this lovely growth of restaurants with rooms. I mean, the York Arms is a classic example of that. But equally, the Coniston Country House Hotel is, it's a bigger it's a bigger hotel, and for clients who like something with lots of facilities and amenities, that's the place we would, or a similar thing we would recommend. So it depends what your clients like, and as you know, the country is full of really quite lovely, quirky, different places to stay. So the choice is yours, but we will always obviously help and recommend based on their preferences. And here is a picture of the York Arms, one of our faves. And some of the best pubs and best dining options are tucked away in little villages and would be impossible to find unless you knew about them. So whatever route your clients are taking, we will recommend the best. And there's something lovely about mixing up between a good traditional pub lunch, excuse me, and some Michelin star dining as well. And the great thing is there's a great choice across the whole county, which is just lovely. So that's our little tour of all creatures great and small. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, there's as you know, there's a huge amount to cover. So I hope our little snapshot has given you some food for thought, and I'm certainly planning, hopefully this year, if not, yeah, maybe get up there this year, to go and do some filming of my own and go and record a Humphreys TV up there. It's a good excuse to go exploring. So I don't know if you've got any questions or
Yeah, I was wondering how long does it take on the train journey?
Oh yeah, there's a brilliant route from, I think it was from London Euston, and takes about 2 hours from London. So it's really quick. There is a slower route if you go up the coast.
But
But
the one that you had the picture of, is that the same?
oh, the steam train.
Yeah, the
Oh,
steam train.
the steam train is really almost sort of part of an experience. I wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily recommend, because not many of them go from London. So they go, but they
Is it
go,
just part of a track or something?
yeah, they go from
Yeah.
York to
Yeah.
somewhere, and obviously you can go
Yeah.
back.
We,
So,
we have one in Waterford as well.
oh, do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. But it's just a day thing. They don't do dinner or anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the food and everything on there
Mm.
is beautiful. So yes, I'm a bit of an expert on them because I bought my father all sorts of steam train
Lovely.
experiences.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's very different. It's a lovely way of seeing the countryside, I think.
Mm. Great.
But
Thanks.
do it once you're up there. Oh, thanks, Todd. Um, Right. So next week, we've just had the announcement that Henley Festival, which is one of our favourite events, and that is a picture of Henley Festival there, has been moved to August this year. So it normally happens in at the beginning of July, just after Regatta. And there are a few music festivals that are happening this year. Glastonbury obviously has been cancelled. So we're going to really focus on the festivals that we know for sure are happening this year, just in case any of your clients want to take part. So we're going to be talking all things music next week, which will be just lovely. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. So thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see you as always. Please put Wednesday the 14th in your calendars for our celebratory tea party. I've got the sun coming in on me here. And we really look forward to seeing you next week and talking all things musicals. Okay, take care, look after yourselves and keep safe. Bye-bye. Bye.